Good day, MASINLOC Zambales. Good day to our dear learners from grade 6. This is MASINLOC on the air here at Serbisyong Potog Radio, DWSP 101.5 News FM. This is your on-air teacher, Janet Balangon from Inhubol Elementary School, and I will be your teacher facilitator for today. I would like to acknowledge our Department of Education writer of our learning activity sheet, Ms. Rachel Jane S. Villanueva. Learners, please prepare your notebook and pen to take down notes all the important ideas from the lesson. Find a comfortable place where you can listen and study properly. Welcome to Mathematics 6. This is an exciting journey to learn on solving problems involving proportion. In the previous lessons, you learned how ratios are used to describe and compare quantities. You also learned how to determine if two ratios form a proportion by comparing the products of the extremes and means or by using cross products. In this lesson, you will apply those skills in solving real-life problems involving the different kinds of proportion. Good luck and have fun learning. We are now on the second week of the second quarter of this school year. Our competency for today are find a missing term in a proportion, direct, inverse, and partitive, and solve problems involving direct proportion, partitive proportion, and inverse proportion in different contexts such as distance, rate, and time using appropriate strategies and tools. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to set up proportions for a group of objects or numbers and for given situations. Find the missing term in a proportion and solve word problems involving ratio and proportion in different contexts using appropriate strategies and tools. An activity was prepared for you to recall your previous lesson before we proceed to our discussion. All you have to do is to color the happy face if the pair of ratios form a proportion and a sad face if not. Write your answers on your paper. Are you ready? Number 1. 28 is to 15 equals 9 is to 5. What are you going to color? The happy face or the sad face? Okay, let us see if your answers are correct. Very good. The sad face. The ratios do not form a proportion. Number 2. 6 is to 9 equals 43 is to 6. Happy face or sad face? Good job. Again, a sad face. Number 3. 45 is to 18 equals 30 is to 12. What is your answer? Very good. This time, the ratios form a proportion. So, it is the happy face. Number 4. 5 of 6 is to 25 of 36. The answer is very good. It is the sad face. Number 5. 5 of 6 is to 1 of 4. What is the answer? Good work. It is the sad face. Very good. You have learned a lot from your previous lesson. You are now ready for our new lessons. First, we are going to study on how to set up a proportion. Read and analyze the situation. Teacher may use 4 reams of bond papers in a week to print the learning activity sheets in all learning areas for her pupils. She needs a total of 32 reams of bond papers to print all the learning activity sheets for 8 weeks. Write a proportion to describe the number of bond papers she needs to the number of weeks. In the previous lesson, you have learned that the order of terms in writing ratio is important. In this lesson, we will apply the same rule in setting up our proportion. The first ratio to describe the number of bond papers to the number of weeks is 4 is to 1. 4 is the number of bond papers and 1 is the number of weeks. Take note that the first term in our ratio is the number of bond papers, while the second term is number of weeks. The order of the terms and the second ratio must be the same as the first. Therefore, the second ratio is 32:8. Combining the two ratios, our proportion is 4:1 equals 32:8. In setting up our proportion, we follow this order of terms. Bond paper is too weak equals bond paper is too weak. Our next discussion is about finding the missing term and solving proportion problems. In solving problems involving proportion, we write the proportion and use a variable to represent the missing term. From there, we can solve for the value of the missing term. There are three types of proportion problems: direct, inverse, and partitive. Each of these types of proportion has its own way of finding the answer. Read and analyze the problem. This is an example of direct proportion. Lyndon will prepare fruit packs for his family. He put 2 mangoes and 1 watermelon in each pack. How many watermelons will he need if he already has 12 mangoes? Let us try to visualize the solution using a model. For every 2 mangoes, there is 1 watermelon. So, if there are 12 mangoes, there will be 6 watermelon in all. The problem can be solved by using a proportion. Let us use this order. Mangoes is to watermelons equals mangoes is to watermelon. And use a variable to represent the missing term. 2:1 equals 2:W. W is used to represent the missing value of the watermelon. After setting up the proportion, we can then apply the principle. The product of the extremes is equal to the product of the means to find the value of W. 1 and 12 are the means, and 2 and W are the extremes. Get the product of the extremes and then the means. 1 times 12 equals 2 times W. 12 equals 2W. Divide both terms by 2. W is equal to 6. So, Lyndon needs 6 watermelons. This is an example of direct proportion. In this type of proportion problem, an increase in one term will result an increase in other term, and the decrease in one term will result the decrease in the other term. Notice that the number of mangoes increased from 2 to 12. In our answer, you will see that the number of watermelons also increased. Let's try another example. This time, let us solve the problem together. Are you ready? Every 5 days, Ari saves 45 pesos from his allowance. How long will he be able to save 360 pesos? What are you going to do first? Very good! Set the proportion. 5:45 equals D:360. Then, apply the principle that the product of the extremes is equal to the product of the means to find the missing term. This time, I will multiply the means first, and then the extremes. 5:45 equals D:360. 45 times D equals 5 times 360. 45D equals 1,800. Divide both terms by 45. We get D is equal to 40. It will take 40 days for Aris to save 360 pesos. Did you get the same answer? Very good! Let us move on to the inverse proportion. In inverse proportion, the opposite happens. If one of the terms increases, the other term decreases. If one term decreases, the other increases. Let us analyze this problem. At a camp, food provisions are enough to feed 30 scouts in 8 days. How many days would the food last if 40 scouts joined the camp? In the problem, the number of scouts increased from 30 to 40. It means that more people will eat the same amount of food. What do you think will happen to the number of days the food will last? Will it be longer or shorter? Since there are more people who will eat the same amount of food, we expect the number of days the food will last becomes shorter. This is what happens in inverse proportion. The increase in one term will result to the decrease of the other term, if the given conditions are the same. In this case, we cannot use the same proportion setup as in direct proportion. Instead, we will use this setup. More scouts is to less scouts equals more days is to less days. Compare the number of scouts and set up the first ratio. Then compare the number of days and set the second ratio to form the proportion. Compare the number of scouts and set up the first ratio. Then, compare the number of days and set the second ratio to form the proportion. Since we expect that the number of days will become less, we will represent the missing term with a variable. 40 is to 30 equals 8 is to D. After setting up the proportion, apply the principle that the product of the extremes is equal to the product of the means to find the value of D. 40 times D is equal to 30 times 8. 40D is equal to 240. Divide both terms by 40. So, D is equal to 6. This means that the food provision will last for 6 days. Notice that when the number of scouts increase from 30 to 40, the number of days the food will last decrease from 8 days to 6 days. This is because the amount of food provisions did not increase. Here is another example of inverse proportion problem. Rachel has enough money for a 10-day vacation if she spends 600 pesos a day. How much should she spend so that her money would last for 12 days? Analyze the problem and decide if the amount Rachel will spend should be more or less. Since she wants her money to last for more days, she has to spend less. Let us set up our proportion. More days is to less days equals more money is to less money. 12 is to 10 equals 600 is to M. Apply the principle that the product of the extremes is equal to the product of the means to find the value of M. 12 times M is equal to 10 times 600. 12M is equal to 6,000. Divide both terms by 12. We get M is equal to 500. That means Rachel has to spend 500 pesos for her money to last 12 days. We are done with inverse proportion. Let us move on to the next proportion problem, which is partitive proportion. In a partitive proportion, a whole is divided into parts, proportional to the given ratio. Let's try to solve this problem on partitive proportion. Ryan and Marlon have a pack of cookies to be divided between them in the ratio of 3:4 respectively. If the pack contains 63 cookies, how many cookies will each of them get? First, let's solve this problem through modeling to visualize how a partitive proportion works. Let us use blocks to represent the cookies. Let us represent Ryan's cookies with 3 blocks and 4 blocks for Marlon. Ryan and Marlon's cookies is equal to 63. Let us find the value of 1 block by dividing 63 by the total number of blocks, which is 7. The answer is 9. Therefore, 1 block is equal to 9. After getting the value of 1 block, get the total number of cookies each will get. Ryan has 3 blocks, so that is 3 times 9 is equal to 27. Marlon has 4 blocks, so that is 4 times 9 equals 36. Let us solve the problem using proportion. Here are the steps. Step 1. Set up a proportion. 3:6 equals 63. Step 2. Add the terms in the ratio. 3 plus 6 equals 63. Step 3. Divide the total number of units by the sum of the terms in the ratio. 63 divided by 7 equals 9. Step 4. Multiply each term in the ratio by the answer in number 3. For Ryan, that is 3 times 9 equals 27. And for Marlon, 4 times 9 equals 36. Ryan will get 27 cookies while Marlon will get 36 cookies. If you will add the number of cookies Ryan and Marlon got, it will be equal to 63. Ryan and Marlon did not get the same number of cookies because the cookies were divided proportionally between them. Now let's try more examples for partitive proportion. There are 525 animals in Manglito's farm. The ratio of cows to carabao to pigs to chicken is 3:2:7:23 respectively. How many of each animals are there in the farm? To find the number of each animals in the farm, we can follow the steps in solving partitive proportion. Step 1. Set up a proportion. 3:2:7:23 equals 525. Step 2. Add the terms in the ratio. 3 plus 2 plus 7 plus 23 equals 525. Step 3. Divide the total number of units by the sum of the terms in the ratio. 525 divided by 35 equals 15. Step 4. Multiply each term in the ratio by the answer in number 3. For cows, 3 times 15 equals 45. For carabaos, 2 times 15 equals 30. For pigs, 7 times 15 equals 105. And for chicken, 23 times 15 equals 345. There are 45 cows, 30 carabaos, 105 pigs, and 345 chickens in Manglito's farm. To check if the answers are correct, add the number of animals and compare the sum to the total number of animals stated in the problem. 45 plus 30 plus 105 plus 345 equals 525. 525 equals 525. We have finished the discussion about the 3 proportion problems. Remember, direct proportion is an increase or decrease in one term results to an increase or decrease in the other term. Inverse proportion is an increase in one term results to a decrease in the other term. Partitive proportion, we divide the whole into proportional parts. We can use modeling or drawing to visualize how to find the missing term in the proportion. Here are some activities for you to enhance your skills in solving problems involving proportion. For your first activity, you have to find the value of n and write the answers on your paper. Number 1. 9:14 equals 90:n. Number 2. n:45 equals 3:50. Number 3. 11 of 12 equals 132 of n. Number 4. 4n:7n:10n equals 189. Number 5. 1n:2n:3n equals 3,612. Let us see if your answers are correct. For number 1, n is equal to 140. Number 2, n is equal to 9. Number 3, n is equal to 144. Number 4, n is equal to 9. Number 5, n is equal to 602. Nice work, everyone! Let us try another activity. In this activity, you are going to write a proportion, then solve for the answer. Write the answers on your paper. Number 1. A car travels at 360 kilometers in 3 hours. How far can it travel in 5 hours? Number 2. Janet can solve 5 difficult problems in 10 minutes. How long will she solve 12 problems of the same difficulty? Number 3. 4 equal pumps can fill the swimming pool with water in 120 minutes. How long will 6 pumps of the same kind fill the swimming pool? Number 4. 3 people can clean the school campus in 30 minutes. How long will it take 5 people to clean the same campus? Number 5. The ratio of boys to girls in grade 4 Darwin class is 3:5. How many girls are there if there are 40 students in the class? Let us see if you got all the correct answers. Number 1. 360:3 equals D is to 5. Number 2. 5:10 equals 12 is to T. Number 3. 4:6 equals M is to 120. Number 4. 3:5 equals P is to 30. And number 5. 3:5 equals 40. Good job! Let us move on to the next activity. Set up the proportion, then find the answer. Write the answers on your paper. Number 1. 800 pesos was divided to 2 girls in the ratio of 4:6. How much will each girl receive? Number 2. A photo of 4 inches long and 5 inches wide was enlarged. If the length of the new photo is 16 inches, what is its width? Number 3. Michael uses 3 cups pancake mix to make 7 pancakes. How many pancakes can he make with 15 cups of pancake mix? Number 4. If 8 women can sew 704 face masks in 3 days, how long will it take 6 women to sew the same number of face masks? Number 5. Carl can run 3 kilometers in 20 minutes. How far can he run in 1 hour? Okay, compare your answers with the answers shown on the screen. Did you get all the correct answers? Very good! Now, you are ready for the assessment to know if you really understood today's lesson. Are you ready? Read and analyze the problem. Identify the kind of proportion, write the proportion, and solve for the answer. Write the answers on your paper. Number 1. Mrs. Villanueva donated 980,000 pesos to 3 orphanages in the ratio of 3:5:8. How much will each orphanage receive? Number 2. It takes 4 weeks for 3 men to paint the house. How many men are needed to complete the job in 2 weeks? Number 3. 3 pizzas are enough to feed 6 people. How many pizzas are needed to feed 24 people? Number 4. Gianni can save 750 pesos in 3 weeks. How much will he save in 10 weeks? Number 5. Kevin and Liana shared 140 marbles. in the ratio of 7:3 respectively. How many marbles will Liana receive? Let us see if your answers are correct. For problem number 1, it is a partitive proportion. The proportion is 3:5:8 equals 980,000. Orphanage 1 will receive 183,750 pesos. Orphanage number 2 will receive 306,250. And orphanage 3 will receive 490,000 pesos. For problem number 2, the problem is inverse proportion. The proportion is 4:2 equals m:3. And the answer is 6 men. The proportion problem in number 3 is a direct proportion. And the proportion is 3:6 equals p:24. The final answer is p equals 12. That means 12 pizzas are needed to feed 24 people. The proportion in number 4 is a direct proportion. The proportion is 750:3 equals s:10. And for the final answer, Gianni can save 2,500 pesos in 10 weeks. Partitive proportion is the proportion problem in number 5. And the proportion is 7:3 equals 140. For the final answer, Diana will receive 42 marbles. Did you get all the correct answers? Great job! This activity is for your reflection. All you have to do is to use illustrations or drawings to define the 3 kinds of proportion. Write the answers on your paper and pass it to your math teacher. Congratulations, grade 6! I hope you learned a lot from today's lesson. This is your teacher Janet saying, study hard, do good, and good life will follow.